Welcome back to my channel. I'm James, and I'm excited to announce we're gonna deep dive into the Fablemans on 4K Ultra HD. Now, I got this in almost a full 2 weeks early before release date, so I could dive into this, do my exclusive 4K versus Blu-ray image comparisons where I pull all the data off of the Blu-ray and the 4K disc to show you the difference side by side between them. I also did all my analysis and exclusive testing to tell you all of that data as well. And then at the end, I always wrap it up with my review score that tells you the sum up total quality of this set in comparison to hundreds of other 4Ks I've exclusively tested and reviewed over the years here on my YouTube channel. And that lets you know if this is worth buying and something you should add to your collection. Now, I will tell you I was very excited to get this in early because I am a huge fan of Steven Spielberg. As most of you know if you've followed me for a while here on my YouTube channel, I think he's a mastercraft filmmaker, and I think he does a really great job with a lot of nostalgia pieces and things that no matter how many years go by, I watch his films over and over again and I grow to appreciate them more and more. And he is one of my personal favorite top filmmakers of all time. Now, this is a more personal story to him. It was actually written and directed by him, and it's basically a story of his growing up and elements of things he went through, and basically the wonder and enjoyment of filmmaking and what went behind him becoming the filmmaker he is today. So it's kind of semi-autobiographical story of Steven Spielberg's life and childhood, and I think it is done very well. Now, just recently, this did win a bunch of awards, which I did think for the film itself, it definitely deserved and earned those. And I'll go through some of the things of why I enjoyed the film as we're going through this review. Now, I'm going to start off with the Blu-ray image up above. This is the native image pulled from the Blu-ray disc and from the 4K disc when I get to that here in a second. As always, the native images on these discs are what make the most difference in what we see and experience when we watch these on our home cinemas, because that native image is what our TV is using to display. So if the image simply doesn't have certain things in it, like color gamut is not as wide or things like that, you'll notice those when I get to the 4K image comparison here when I'm showing them side by side, because the Blu-ray simply doesn't have as wide a color gamut as Dolby Vision and HDR10 does. Now, getting to the 4K Ultra HD disc now that you see up above, there is some heavy differences between the two of them. The 4K Ultra HD disc definitely had much more depth and details behind that image, as you're noticing in those comparisons above. The other big thing is, because this does have Dolby Vision and HDR10, you have such a wider color gamut that I was referencing to, that you have so many more shades of the colors and varying shades, that's why you can notice so much more heavily on that picture. It is so much more pleasing to the eye than what the Blu-ray release is. Now, the Blu-ray was decent looking. I did think it was a decent looking Blu-ray, but the big difference that came into play is because this is a native 4K 2160p that's contrived from the 4K digital intermediate that it was finished at, that is why there's so much more depth and detail on this. Now, with that Dolby Vision and HDR10 on it, it does have brilliant whites and inky blacks, which the Blu-ray release does not have. A lot of the blacks are very just kind of grayish black. They're decent, but they're not inky black. Now, this never goes into black crush on the 4K either. I was pleasantly surprised at how good of a job they did with it, having those inky blacks, but there was never black crush, there was never blocking, there was no banding, no digital noise issues. I had none of those present on this 4K at all. Now, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Just like with this review, I got this in 2 weeks early before the release date. And I do a lot of these early and advanced exclusive reviews that you're only going to find here on my YouTube channel. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. So go down there, give this video a like and a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you're one of the first ones to get notified when I get in any of these early releases from the studios to do my testing, and you get to watch and find out if this is something you should order and buy. Now, if you do decide you want to buy any of these after you get done watching my review and hearing my review score, I've always posted the direct links from Amazon in the description section right below this video and as a pinned comment. Those never cost you even a penny extra, but they do help to support this YouTube channel just a tiny bit. And they're on sale for the same prices everywhere through those links. So if you get done watching this and you decide you want to buy the Fablemans on Blu-ray or 4K, Make sure to click through those links I've posted down in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. Now, talking about the HDR10 and Dolby Vision, I will say on this, I did enjoy the Dolby Vision just slightly more. There was only about a 5% variance in difference between the two of them when I was going side by side. The Dolby Vision just looked about 5% better to my eye than the HDR10 did, but both of them really did look outstanding overall. So depending on whether you have access to HDR10 on your TV and 4K player, or whether you have Dolby Vision, you'll enjoy both presentations, and both are drastic upgrades over the Blu-ray release. So you'll enjoy either one. It's just Dolby Vision to me just had a slight one up. Now keep in mind with this, Steven Spielberg on purpose filmed it on multiple different film elements. And this is something that I've talked a lot about recently. As a reviewer, you need to know all of what went into the original filmmaking and the original film elements to create the movies before you go into reviewing the new 4K either release or if it's a restoration, things like that. It's very important to understand what went into the film itself before you go into even reviewing what the actual 4K release is. Because if you don't understand those original film elements and what was intentional and what wasn't intentional, then you're not really understanding how something should have looked or how it shouldn't have looked. And that's something I've talked about a lot recently because there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there with, I hate to say it, but reviewers that just don't understand anything about the actual films themselves that went behind these restorations or the actual film elements used, whether it's camera lenses or filters that were used to create certain effects that then go into these 4K releases. And that's where I'm going to talk about what Steven Spielberg did with this film that I really, really appreciated. And it kind of shows how I feel that he's a really mastercraft filmmaker, which is why I have always enjoyed his films and why I think this 4K release is a very unique one. Now, throughout this entire film, Kodak 35mm, 16mm, and 8mm film stock was used to create different elements in this film to retain basically what was used at that time period that he's telling in his life that he was using to record at that time period, which creates different levels of film grain throughout this. Now, talking about the film grain is very stable and filmic throughout the entire thing. Though what you will notice, which is not something wrong, there is varying levels of the film grain because of the film stock and film elements that they specifically used. Hence, when I was referencing the Kodak 35mm, 16mm, and 8mm film stock that was used throughout this. Those are what he was filmed on, certain scenes throughout this based on the time periods of what he was trying to show through his life when he had different cameras that were used. And it's important to understand those things because that is not something that is wrong with this. When you notice and you're watching it, that the film grain gets a little thicker and more heavy, then it gets a little lighter. It's based on the film elements that were used to create a certain effect to give you the time period he's telling you in different times of his life based on the different types of films he used at those times in his life, which I think as a filmmaker is a beautiful way to show the love and appreciation for different elements of filmmaking and showing it in a very unique way that a lot of people just either didn't understand or know about. And that's what I loved about this film, is it shows the wonder of filmmaking and the excitement that goes behind it, with the imagination and the dreamlike of going into creating something to entertain people and give people something to take them out of everyday ordinary life. And that is where I think this film did a masterful job at it, just really giving us that feeling of why I love everything about filmmaking, behind filmmaking, the writing of it, the music, which John Williams' score in this comes across beautifully. And I will say the audio quality on this, I wished would have had Dolby Atmos, but I will say the English Dolby True HD 7.1, that's also available in French, and then you also get a Spanish mix. But for the English one on this, it was really well done. Yes, I would have liked Dolby Atmos, but to be honest with you, the 7.1 Dolby True HD was a wonderful sounding audio mix. I can't really complain about anything about it. I thought, like I said with John Williams' score, it was just beautiful throughout it. You can hear every element of it moving around the room beautifully. And I really thought it lended greatly to this film, so I can't really complain about it or ding it. I just like Atmos in some areas and just like when it has Atmos on it sometimes, even if maybe for this film it wouldn't have made the most night and day drastic difference. Now, this film is rated PG-13. It does have some language, some brief violence, and some brief drug content. Though I will say it is not over the top. I think it is a good family film. I don't really think there's anything too questionable in it, but that's up to you what you feel is okay to watch or not. The runtime on this is 151 minutes. Now, I will say I don't think the film is overblown at all. I think Steven Spielberg keeps it moving the whole time, keeps you engaged in his family's life, his life, the story of those around him, those he meets, his mom and his dad, played by Paul Dano and Michelle Williams. I think they are both phenomenal in their roles. I just think overall he showed us a story that, yes, it has some fictional elements in it tied to his real life elements, but again, he shows us filmmaking that makes it enjoyable to go to the cinemas and remember why we enjoy going to the cinemas. This is what I enjoyed going to the cinemas for, is films like this. And no offense to Marvel movies, which I've talked about over the years, or all these superhero flicks. I do enjoy them for what they are. But to me, they're not mastercraft filmmaking like films like what Steven Spielberg has done over the years. You know, you have Jaws, E.T., Indiana Jones, and I could go on all day about all of the dozens upon dozens upon dozens of films of his that I've really enjoyed over the years. This lends to such a beautiful release in his catalog of films that if you enjoy Steven Spielberg even the slightest, you must see this film and experience it. Now, quality-wise, this 4K is the best way to experience this film by far. As a native 4K presentation from the 4K digital intermediate that it was finished at, like I was talking about with that film grain, it shines through beautifully on this. Though keep in mind the varying levels is not wrong, that is intentional. It's a love letter to filmmaking itself. Other filmmakers understand and see that love letter, and I understand it as dealing with all of these films over the years, testing and analyzing them, understanding all the different film elements that go into them. I really appreciated those little hidden touches, especially when he's showing the little cameras and working with the films, and the explanation, even at the beginning when his dad's character basically is explaining how films are done, is done beautifully in a kind of more dumbed down explanation, but done to explain it to a child, which I loved how that intro starts, setting up the story of the beautiful love of what goes behind filmmaking and how much Steven Spielberg really has an appreciation and love for filmmaking itself. And Steven Spielberg does a beautiful job romanticizing films and filmmaking in this movie, and that's what I really loved about this as well. Now, showing you what you get in this, you do get this really nice slipcover. Oh man, I really loved how glossy and like metallic it was. It says the Fablemans on the side and Amblin Entertainment. Talks about it. You do get a Movies Anywhere digital copy code that redeems in 4K. Now you do get special features on this. You get several of them that talk about behind the scenes, talking about things that they went into making of the film. And then when you get inside here, you do get your Blu-ray disc, which is a BD50, and this is 100% region free. As always, I exclusively test every Blu-ray and every 4K. The 4K and the Blu-ray, both of them are 100% region free. Good news on your 4K disc, it is a BD100. They didn't overcompress anything, and I'll get to some more of my testing on the 4K disc here in just a second, but both discs are 100% region free, so no matter where you live worldwide, if you're wanting to buy this because it has both discs in it plus your digital movie code, that link I posted down below from Amazon ships anywhere worldwide, and you'll be able to play both discs, no issues whatsoever. Now on the 4K Ultra HD, like I was talking about in comparison to that Blu-ray, there is an impressive level of detail and depth to this image that the Blu-ray simply doesn't have and is very limited in those areas over what you get with this very nice 4K Ultra HD release. But there's some other reasons for that. As I always try to share some more of my testing here, I went in and dived into the rough average bitrate on this. It had a very strong and very healthy rough average bitrate of 81 megabits per second. It was great. Throughout most of the entire film, now there is some slight dips here and there that I experienced throughout it, but overall that rough average bitrate was great and lended to why this has such a nice and beautiful picture throughout. Though I will reference one more time, That film grain is not something wrong. When you notice the differences between the film grain throughout time periods in this film, that was intentional because he filmed it 35mm, 16mm, and 8mm Kodak. So that's intentional. That's not something wrong. But overall, no matter what of those film elements were used, it looks great on this. There was not fluctuations, there was no blocking issues, there was no clumping of the film grain where you have areas where you'll see like blocks of the film grain kind of clumping together, creating a block kind of outline. There was none of that. It was beautifully done throughout the entire runtime of this film. I didn't have any audio lag, I didn't have any audio issues. It was really a nicely done 4K Ultra HD release, and really looked much better than the Blu-ray release that, as far as the Fablemans goes, if you watch it on 4K, you're never going to want to see it on Blu-ray. Because of how beautiful of a presentation it really is on 4K with that wider color gamut, you really notice a lot of that when it would use the film elements, and it would have like flashes of the camera with different colors blending out from it and bleeding from the sides. You can see so much more of those colorful, beautiful kind of rainbow effects that were lacking on the Blu-ray heavily. Looked so great and so much better because of the lights to darks and that beautiful color gamut of the Dolby Vision and HDR10. Now I will reference one other thing about that color gamut. This is intentionally filmed with a warmer color tone. That was intentional, and Steven Spielberg even talked about it, to present an earlier kind of classic film look. That is not something wrong. Though I will say the Blu-ray does not represent that warmer color tone nearly as good as it does on this because of that wider color gamut. The Blu-ray doesn't have it as much as what it's intentionally supposed to look like that the 4K does represent. That is not something wrong with your TV. He intentionally filmed it with that warmer color tone throughout the entire film to give it a classic movie feel. Just another little hidden background information about things that he did on this film that I appreciate. And I appreciate these little things when I notice them, that filmmakers do them, because it adds things to the film for me that make me enjoy the experience even more, because they took the time to make sure to add those little elements and little special things with film lenses and camera lenses to give that effect in it, and it really works. I mean, it has that classic movie look and feel because of how it was filmed on film stock and with that warmer color tone. And those of you that want to know about the subtitles, this does have English, Spanish, and French on them, so you do get those subtitle options as well. Now, before I get to my review score here, I did just want to briefly reference to what I was talking about earlier on in this review about how it's important to understand the different elements and how things were filmed intentionally to understand the quality of a release and what it should look like. For my review score on the Fablemans 4K Ultra HD release from Amblin Entertainment and Universal Studios, this gets a magnificent 9.8. This is not just a must-buy, this is a must-own 4K Ultra HD release that you need to have in your collection just to experience the epic filmmaking, the little things that Steven Spielberg did to show us his love for filmmaking. Watching this will make you appreciate his other films that you already love because you see his love behind it, and it truly is a love letter to filmmaking, to the idea and thought behind the imagination and dreams of putting them out there for the entertainment of others and seeing the joy and entertainment that others get from that. I loved the film. I really think Steven Spielberg did a great job with it. I think the runtime is great. I don't think I ever had any time that I was sitting there like tapping my toe or wondering, hey, is this going to end? I enjoyed every element of it from beginning all the way to the end. And it is a piece of filmmaking that I really do think will stand the test of time for many years to come. Just like many of Steven Spielberg's classic movies, it deserved every award it got. That's how much I enjoyed this. But this 4K is the only way you should experience the Fablemans. It is magnificent. 9.8. This is a must buy that you need to have. Go down to that link I've posted down in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below and order your copy immediately. This is one of these that you will enjoy years to come. The price of it's great. They are not charging us $40, $35 for this release. I think they released it at a great price point. The slipcovers of this are limited only for the first pressings. After that, Universal does away with them and then you don't get the slipcovers anymore. I do like them. I think they're really nice. I love the glossy metallic artwork. So if you're wanting those, don't wait too long to order your copy. As far as this one goes, make sure to start that conversation in the comment section below. Let me know if you've seen the film already. Let me know if you're excited to own it now in 4K Ultra HD after hearing my review score and all my testing and analysis. The bitrate on this and everything else that was done on this was really a nice job, and I'm pleasantly surprised because I was worried that they were just going to kind of throw it out on disc. You know how sometimes there's a popular movie that comes out in theaters that does decent and it makes some money, even though I really thought when this originally came out in theaters it had a very poor distribution. I had a hard time even finding it at theaters to watch it at. But anyhow, it was kind of one of those ones that, I don't know, I think the way they distributed it was kind of really poor originally in theaters. But the film itself was kind of one of those that did make good money, and I was worried they were just going to throw it out without care and kind of put it on disc and it not be a good transfer. Thankfully, this is a magnificent release and is one you must own that you won't want to miss out on because it really is an outstanding release. And I was pleasantly surprised, though the Blu-ray in here really doesn't hold a candle to the 4K when you sit down and watch through those films. Because of that film grain and all the different elements he used, it really does lend nicely to the 4K, where the Blu-ray you miss out on that experience because you really can't even notice a lot of the film grain some of the times because of it being a softer picture. You really notice those different elements so nicely on the 4K disc. Make sure to start that conversation down there below. Let me know your thoughts on this film and how excited you are for this release. If you enjoy all of my time and hard work that I put into testing and analyzing and getting all the screenshots and comparisons that you see above, make sure to join my Collector's VIP Club membership. That costs you less than a couple of dollars every month, less than the price of a cup of coffee. But that is the only way I can always continue to create all of these reviews here on my YouTube channel. Just like this exclusive and early review, I have to go out and test all of these. It takes me days upon days of hard work to pull all the data off and to test all of these and to provide all this testing and analysis for all of you to watch and enjoy. So if you enjoy all that hard work and time I put in, make sure to join my Collector's VIP Club. There's a bunch of perks and benefits that you get, members badges, special videos, special votes, you get different emojis. There's a bunch of different things you get for joining that club. But it truly does make a difference in the creation of every single one of these videos that I create here on my YouTube channel. And I couldn't possibly keep doing this without all of my VIP Club member support. And I just want to say thank you to all my VIP Club members. You truly do make a difference and make it possible for me to keep creating all these videos here on my YouTube channel. You can also give a super thanks to the super thanks button down below. You can give any dollar amount you want through that. That's kind of like a tip. It goes straight back into the creation of these videos as well. Don't forget to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. As always, I truly hope all of you have a blessed day, and I've always got something new and exciting coming out very soon.